So, yeah, My Hero Academia isn't really looking good. In fact, there's nowhere I scroll on YouTube that I don't see everyone saying shit about it. And everybody seems to be lashing at Deku because, yeah, they say Deku is a terrible character. He's this, he's that. But I feel like everyone is forgetting the elephant in the room. And here's this. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. All for One and All Might should have died in their final battle. Now hold on before you all lash at me in the comment sections and leave the video. Let me explain. But before I do, please kindly like and subscribe and follow me for more content and comment down below your thoughts on this video when it's done. And yeah, so let's dive into it. Okay, so a lot of y'all must be asking me, what do I mean by All Might and All for One should have died? I mean, they're not affecting the story, right? Well, you'd be wrong. Well, All Might isn't exactly affecting the story. I feel like the major problem is coming from All for One himself. So before I even talk about the problem, let me talk about All for One. You see, I love All for One. All for One is probably one of the best villains I've ever seen in anime, and bro arguably must have had the best villain theme song.
Time to stop him. No time to even move. It happened in an instant.
The shit is really
A
good.
microsecond.
It's really good, man. When All For One made his appearance, he sounded like, or he seemed like this kind of a menacing threat to society. He was so powerful and so scary. Even the rest of them, they were just like imagining their own deaths because they knew that, oh yeah, they're messed up this time. All For One is seen to be this final boss villain. All For One is so dangerous. Even All Might believes he's a serious threat and they really need to take him down. All For One has been playing the cards in secrets and he's secretly been ruling the entire city this whole time. But what makes All For One a problem, and if I love him so much, why do I want him dead? You see, All For One is really affecting the story. If you've watched the latest season of My Hero currently, you probably understand why. And if you're up to date with the manga, which of course they will be manga spoilers here, so you've been warned, All For One is really, really affecting the story. So we come down to Shigaraki. Shigaraki, who is a villain I love so much. I love his origin story and I love just how he is. I love his character and how Horikoshi was able to handle him. And then we see Shigaraki. He's broken free. He was experimented with All For One's different quirks so that he can have the power of All For One. And then when we see him battling, you're like hyped and like, oh yeah, this is good. This is very cool. And then you see he's being controlled by All For One. Yeah, it's really annoying. You can see how All For One is kind of like affecting the whole premise of the story here. Like, why? Why is All For One controlling Shigaraki? All For One should not really be doing this. Shigaraki is his own character. Let him develop himself as his own character. Let him make his own choices and his own decisions. Why does All For One have to control him? That just kind of ruined everything. It didn't just make any sense. That's why All For One just kind of ruined it there. And yeah, that's just it on my own opinion. And what about All Might? Well, All Might isn't affecting the story in any way, or like, no, he's not really affecting the story. In fact, he's actually helping Deku to progress as a character and he's teaching him and to have more knowledge on One For All. But the thing is, bro isn't really useful anymore. Like, nah, bro. I don't know, bro ain't that useful anymore. If you take All Might out of the story, I don't think anything will pretty much change. Apart from the final battle, All Might hasn't really been useful. Yeah, sure, people still remember him, but what use is he anymore? I mean, this is basically about the Deku. This is all just about Deku now, and yeah, that's just really it. I don't know. All Might isn't really on this A game anymore. I know he used up all the power of One For All, and he's basically weak now. But still, I feel like he should die. And here's my own thoughts on it. It's like everything is just focusing on the future generation, how you have to pass the torch on to the next generation and stuff. But still, though, if they're passing on the torch, then why are they still alive? I mean, I know they don't necessarily have to die, but still, in my opinion, they should really be dead. Look, I love the concept of all for one and one for all. All for one stands for all the quirks would just be for one person, while one for all is one unique quirk that can be shared to all. So yeah, I love the difference between that. It makes sense. And I love Shigaraki and Deku. These two are basically like polar opposites. Shigaraki had a rough life. Deku also, well, Deku didn't really have a rough life. He was still, but the only problem was he was quirkless, and yeah, it's not really considered rough. I mean, come on, Deku was still had a loving mother, while Shigaraki killed his mom and his entire family. So you can see where the opposite here. This makes sense. This perfectly makes sense to me. I love Shigaraki, and I feel like make him his own villain. He should do his own thing. All for One doesn't have to control him. That's where the problem is. All for One controlling Shigaraki is annoying to me, and it doesn't make any sense. And yes, you might have a problem with All Might dying, and some of you might be angry right now, but still, even if All Might dies, All Might is not really gone. You can see there's this like a chamber or inside the One for All where all the former users gather and they talk to Deku. So if All Might dies, he should just appear here, right? So if Deku needs any advice, he can just come here and he will see All Might. So technically, All Might is not really gone. He's still there, man. Like, so even if All Might dying doesn't really change anything. It's just that, yeah, Deku can still talk to All Might in case he needs advice or anything. So, yeah, you can see there's not really much of a difference here. So, passing on the mantle to the future generation is like passing on your title to the next person, your successor, the one that will come after you. That's just everything about My Hero Academia. And while other characters don't really get their moments, I feel like Deku and Shigaraki and their polar opposites, it all makes sense. It all just makes sense. Shigaraki being the new All for One, and Deku being like the new All Might, not necessarily the new All Might, but at least his own hero. And yeah, he's the last user of One for All. And the climatic final battle with their predecessors will fight each other till the death to see who actually wins. And that's just basically it. That's just my take on it. All Might and All for One still being alive is not necessarily affecting the story, but I feel like it's more centered on All for One controlling Shigaraki's body and All Might still being alive when, of course, he gives advice and he's helping Deku, but he doesn't really have to be alive to do that. If he dies, like I mentioned earlier, he can just appear here where all the former One for All users are there. So, yeah, All Might is not. All Might will die, but all Deku can still talk to him. That's just, I don't know, that's just my basic thought about it. Yeah, you can hate my thought, you can like my thought, you can come down below in your own thoughts to let me know what you think about my thoughts on this. So yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it for this video. Have a nice day, and I'll see you on the next one.